I met Adrian when I was 16. We started dating when I was 18. 10 years later, after everything had changed, we were still together. But the night before the wedding, Adrian suddenly said he didn't want to get married. He thought I'd panic, that I'd coax him and beg. I just nodded calmly. Sure. I don't want to marry you either. Before we go on, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Through the phone, Adrian's voice carried a hint of liquor. We've been together so long that when I think about doing it for the rest of my life, okay. His voice cut off. What did you just say? Luna, did you not hear me? I stayed level. You don't want to marry, lucky for you, I've changed my mind. Let's leave it at that, I told Adrian. I'll explain to the guests. Tomorrow will just be dinner, I won't show. I ended the call and forwarded the guest list to my PA with instructions to cancel the wedding today. Outside the bedroom, the Eastbrook movers were boxing everything up on my orders. I looked around the place I'd lived in for 6 years. Every inch had been decorated by me, now I was undoing it, piece by piece. What are you doing? Stop. Adrian barreled in and blocked the door. Luna, one mover said, glancing at me uncertainly. It's fine. Keep going. I turned to Adrian, voice mild. You're back early. Thought you were out drinking with Ethan. He froze, confused, then annoyed. What is this? Ethan and the guys just got the cancellation notice. Now I was the surprised one. You forgot? An hour ago we agreed to cancel. He blinked, flustered and angry. I was only. Luna, the invitations went out. Do you know what a last-minute cancellation does to me? I couldn't see why he was flipping this on me. Hadn't he been the one to walk away first? I said nothing. Adrian cooled off and started pleading. Luna, I was wrong. I shouldn't have joked about canceling. I was drunk, I cut in. I know. But I really changed my mind. Ethan is Adrian's best friend. Yesterday, right after our rehearsal, he sent me a message, just a screenshot. It was from the guys' WhatsApp group. I'd seen it on Adrian's phone and knew his avatar. Adrian, the longer I'm with Luna, the duller it gets. She used to be fun, now she's like still water, can't make a ripple. You all know how crazy she is about me. I'm not marrying Chloe, just playing. Luna will never leave me. Bet if I tell her I don't want the wedding, she won't even get mad, she'll beg me to go through with it. My hands went ice cold. It took me a while to register the timestamp. He'd typed that while we were rehearsing, while I was walking the aisle in my wedding gown, and his eyes were red. Impossible. Adrian's shout snapped me back. You can't mean it. You're bluffing. I stared, puzzled. His brows drew tight. You're mad at me, right? I pressed my lips together, not following his spiral. When I stayed silent, he scoffed. You're here to conquer me. You can't just walk away. Conquer? I gaped at him, brain blue screening. Had Chloe told him something? I steadied myself. Raiders can't reveal mission details, even after the system leaves. So whatever the truth, I had to play dumb. I tilted my head. Adrian, what are you talking about? I don't understand. He smiled, satisfied. Stop pretending. I gave him a weird look and shook my head. I'm not here to conquer you. We stood off until his temper frayed. From day one I could hear you and that voice in your head. You're assigned to me. If we split, you fail. My mind went blank. He'd eavesdropped on my system chats. That's why he thought I'd never leave. All that trust one believed we had was. The moment I knew I loved him, I'd dropped the mission and chosen to stay. When the system left, it raged. Hosts who dump tasks for men always regret it. You will too. Blinded by love, I'd shot back, I never will. The system had prophesied correctly, I did regret. I looked at Adrian, his eyes still brimmed with certainty that I wouldn't go. I own 10% of Eastbrook. After the IPO my net worth exploded, and plenty of admirers swooped in, no fewer than Adrian's entourage. At one dinner a partner, half drunk, teased Adrian, aren't you scared Luna might change her mind? Adrian, also tipsy, answered without hesitation, Luna won't. She'll never leave me. Back then I'd almost cried at how much he believed in us. Now I saw his confidence came from thinking I was tethered by a mission. I pushed the chaos down and spoke evenly. I'm not here to conquer you. No wonder he'd misunderstood. While the system was still around we'd always called my target the mark, and Adrian had overheard. Hearing my denial, he softened. Luna, quit the tantrum. Eastbrook is swamped, I don't have time, I'd had enough. I laid my cards out, I was assigned to Ethan. You're his best friend, being nice to you was just my way in. 5 inch you dated him 10 years, hustled together, lived in basements, drank until your stomach bled, and now you just let go? My best friend Hannah ranted, he's worth hundreds of millions. Breaking up means some other woman gets the jackpot. I only smiled. It was a normal relationship and a normal breakup. I'm not doing the math. I've got one solid trait, stellar mindset. 10 years with Adrian, carving that bond out of my heart was messy and raw. But I don't dwell. My last life, born with a heart defect, hospitalized since childhood. I watched life and death parade past my ward, feelings dulled. So when I rebooted in this life, emotions stayed level. Dumping Adrian won't make me hysterical. His cheating doesn't ignite revenge plots. Besides, the decade with him didn't stall my career. We co-founded Eastbrook, he holds the bulk, but my 10% stake will cash out at tens of millions. Tens of millions. In my sickbed days, unable to afford surgery, I hadn't dared dream of that number. It's more than enough to bandage the wounds of a severed decade. Hannah H. pinched my cheeks. Luna, you're too easily content. That jerk, did he cheat? Is that why you dumped him out of nowhere? My eyes flickered, I smiled and stayed quiet. Reading me, Hannah shrieked, he dared to stray. If I were you, I'd ruin him, load him with debt, then we'd talk. I gently pushed her off. Not worth it. You and Adrian are done? Ethan's sudden question made Hannah and me freeze. He's Hannah's older brother, and the man I'd originally been sent to conquer. Because of him I met Adrian, met Hannah. I looked up instinctively. Ethan's sharp features and effortless presence command any room. Hannah shrank like a chick spotting a hawk. Big bro, what are you doing here? Ethan's gaze brushed past me, landing on Hannah. Mom and Dad want you home more. Hannah, but I just saw them yesterday. Ethan's expression stiffened. After half a minute of silence, he looked away and pressed his lips together. Since that's how it is, I'll go. A thought suddenly hit me. I stood up and called after him. Ethan, wait. He stopped instantly and glanced back, eyes lingering with meaning. What is it? Without overthinking, I walked over. I'm planning to sell my equity. Are you buying? 6. It was the 4th night after Adrian and I broke up. Late, out of nowhere, my phone rang. Luna. It wasn't Adrian's voice on the line. The caller spoke cautiously, Adrian's wasted. Could you come pick him up? I stayed quiet for a second. We're over. The kid on the other end hemmed and hawed until my patience was almost gone. Just come, okay? Adrian just got into a fight with Ethan because of you, and he keeps saying your name. A fight, with Ethan? Exhausted, I lowered my eyes. Call Chloe. I'm not going. Chloe was the daughter of one of Eastbrook's long-term suppliers. Adrian met her at a business mixer, later she joined Eastbrook as his assistant. Before we even met, I already knew her from the slips in Adrian's chatter. Careless but responsible at work, bubbly, bright, sunny. He said. She was like a sunflower. When did the hunch begin? The moment I saw her? No, earlier. Adrian and I never wore perfume, and our clothes were laundered scent-free, but that day something was off. A faint smell clung to his collar. Not obvious, only my oversensitive nose caught it. And it wasn't the random trace you pick up at crowded cocktail parties. Bothered but clueless, I filed it away. Then the first time I passed Chloe in the Eastbrook hallway, the identical scent hit me, laundry perfume, the smell of hair, the kind only transferred in a close embrace. So they'd been that intimate long before. Still, back then I only suspected, and even felt guilty. Adrian trusted me so completely, how could I doubt him over a whiff on a collar? Until the day I overheard Chloe talking to her system. 7. I can hear Chloe and her system. The first time I saw her, she sat to Adrian's left in the boardroom. They didn't exchange a glance, looked every inch the spotless boss and assistant. Then I heard the familiar voice, what's Adrian's favorability now? 75, rubbing his leg with your foot just added 2 points, host. So far I've only seen Chloe twice. The last time was the Friday before Adrian and I were supposed to pick out my wedding gown. At the annual gala Adrian got drunk, Chloe drove him home. When I took him from her, I forced myself to ignore her swollen lips and wrinkled skirt. I heard her ask the system, his favorability now? 88, only 2 points left until he loves you. You're amazing, host. Chloe looked demure but gloated inside, men are all the same, once you sleep with them, the number shoots up. 8. I understand how hard it is to keep a relationship alive. In my last life I was eaten by illness and abandoned by family. That hunger made me long for solid, unshakable love. Adrian and I were together 10 years. How many decades does a person get? So at first I let the little things slide, the ghost of perfume on his collar, allowing Chloe's leg to brush his under the table. I told myself such mistakes would stop once we married. I trusted his love as he trusted mine. But on the night of the gala they slept together. While he thought I was still in the dark, I showed up for work the next day, finalized wedding plans, and stared at the ceiling all night. Keep pretending? Or just walk away? 10 years deserved at least a week of thought. On the wedding rehearsal day, the blade finally fell, something he joked about with his buddies. That joke became the knife that chopped the decade in half. Next morning I wasn't surprised to open the door and find Adrian there. I guess the decade meant something to him too. His voice was hoarse, his face hungover and haggard. Luna, let's talk. I nodded. All right. At the cafe we always went to. A silver fork clinked against porcelain. I set mine down and leaned back. Getting stuffed at breakfast felt wrong, yet the gloom only sharpened my appetite. Adrian's plate looked untouched. You're eating well today, he remarked, eyes complicated. Of course I was. Breaking up was a weight off my stomach. He fell silent, then blurted, you know about Chloe? I dabbed my mouth and met his gaze. Yes. You cheated. His pupils shrank. Then his eyes darted away, lips a thin line. So you're retaliating, selling your equity to Ethan to hurt me. I needed a second to decode that. I almost laughed. You think I'm selling to Ethan so I can sleep with him and get back at you? Adrian, I'm not as casual as you are. He exhaled, shoulders loosening. The pain in his eyes dimmed, he gave a bitter chuckle. Luna, I'm sorry. He had no clue how much I knew about him and Chloe, but caution was his habit. Confess everything, leave no loose ends. It was only a drunken accident. He softened his voice and laid out Chloe's campaign. She ferreted out his schedule, turned up at every party. She parachuted into Eastbrook as a lowly assistant. The heiress even cooked 3 meals a day for him. At the gala he was wasted, one thing Lou to another. I was blacked out, he swore. I stopped myself from rolling my eyes. If he'd truly been out cold, he wouldn't have been able to perform. He kept staring, oath heavy. 10 years, Luna. My heart never changed. You're still the one I love most. That last line I believed. Chloe's system had confirmed it. Out of 100 total, his favorability toward me was 95. Yet he still cheated. I lowered my eyes. So you want us back? He studied my face, nodded nervously. Give me one more chance, Luna. I wondered where he found such confidence, then he supplied it. You were sent to seduce Ethan, but you picked me. Luna, that means you love me. His profile caught the 9 a.m. sun, the tense curve of his mouth looked as gentle and sincere as the day we met. That used to melt me. Not anymore. I think we'd better not, I said, looking away, patience intact. I kept my gaze off him, catching his hurt only in the sudden drop of his voice. If I could still hurt him, why choose to betray me in the first place? Adrian was quiet a long while. I messed up. Be mad, hate me, I'll take it. He paused, voice rough. I'll transfer 5% of my equity to you as an apology. You stood by me 10 years, I wouldn't be where I am without you. Don't you feel shortchanged just walking away? Luna, I never wanted a prenup, what's mine has always been yours. Surprised, I met his stubborn stare. Hit me with emotion, bait me with profit. So this is what 95 favorability looks like. As if he couldn't live without me. He hadn't begged like this in years. Yet he was the type who stopped valuing what he'd secured, and I wasn't the woman who measured love in stock certificates. I looked at him coldly. What about Chloe? Chloe? A ripple crossed his eyes, he was clearly thrown. In under 6 months her favorability score with him had hit 88. After 10 years of kisses, whispers, and shared dreams, mine had frozen at 95. Could he even give Chloe up? I studied the man I once loved. Whether his feelings were too easy to farm or her tactics too sharp, it was a barb I would carry either way. Adrian stayed silent for half a minute. She was just an accident. After we get back together I'll never. I cut him off gently, but Chloe is the one who was sent to conquer you. His shoulders snapped tight, eyes stunned. What? Chloe was always the one assigned to you. I never was. I smiled faintly. I'm actually glad. Glad about what? Adrian swallowed his shock, a sliver of hope flashing through his eyes as he waited. My smile widened. Glad we never signed the papers. Divorce would have been messy. I stood up and walked away. Outside the window the sun was at its gentlest. Adrian, we can't go back, and I don't want us tangled up anymore. 10 That night I dreamed a garish dream. A dim alley, a low wall green with moss, a sky so blue it hurt, a boy in a blue and white uniform, and the calm, fathomless eyes watching me. The dream dropped me at 16, the day the system dragged me to this world and ordered me to conquer Ethan. It gave me the resume of a plain orphan. Ethan was blue blood royalty. The gap between us was a canyon. Meeting was harder than winning. While I was still tearing my hair out, the system showed me a shortcut. Adrian. 2 reasons, it said. Before the Hartley family crashed, Adrian and Ethan were on good terms. Even after the crash, they still attended the same private school. Rebirth euphoria buzzing in my ears, I obeyed and went after Adrian. The first meeting was pure stagecraft, alley, thugs, heroics. A cliché. But I played the damsel too well and ended up falling for the boy who jumped off the wall to stand between me and danger. Back then Adrian himself was free falling. Both parents had been in a crash, one vegetative, one left with a limp. Eastbrook, the family company, was pushed into bankruptcy soon after. In the span of days the golden heir became a kid counting quarters for lunch. Calamity kept rolling, yet his eyes stayed clear of despair. Itchy Street etched a hand toward me. The first gift Adrian ever gave me was a down jacket. Winter in City Bites. As an orphan I owned nothing thick enough. That jacket let me survive my first winter here. In my previous life I'd spent years in hospital wards. I lacked basic life skills, had no clue how to blend in or improvise. The system didn't care, it only hammered me to speed the mission. Adrian became my first friend. He tutored me, landed me an easy part-time gig, and jumped in when campus bullies cornered me. By college I was broke, and his startup had begun to breathe. My pride wouldn't let me take his money. So he pulled me onto his team, taught me how to build a company, spoon-fed me every lesson. Honestly, every dollar I own today can be traced back to what he showed me. To me he was friend, mentor, family, lover. I told him I wanted no more entanglement. But the roots knotted through our veins long ago. 11 Turns out living alone feels pretty great. Adrian's allergic to dog hair. I used to keep my distance from every pup I liked. Now I could march into a shelter and pick a roommate. I chose a husky and named him Chip. High-octane demolition crew in fur. Week 1, his claws turned my hand-picked leather sofa into fringe. Still, even with Chip, I slid into a funk. Withdrawal from Adrian hit like a delayed flu. During daylight his chaos masked the ache. After dusk every shade of gray in the sky dragged his silhouette across my mind. Whether I was awake or asleep, pain pulsed, pain because I still missed him, and because I would never chase him. I knew we were on separate rails now, the distance only growing. While I hibernated, Hannah texted nonstop, begging me to come out. I ghosted every invite. After the 5th rain check she stormed my condo, dragged me to the bistro around the corner. Spill. Since you and Adrian split, you've sold your equity, quit your job, and locked yourself inside like you're waiting to die of old age. I sliced my dessert into perfect halves with the side of my spoon. Not true. I'm recalibrating. Hannah's brow stayed creased, worry pooled in her eyes. I met her stare. Promise. I'll be okay soon. Fine. 1 more week and then you're flying to Switzerland with me. I need fresh powder. While she fixed her lipstick in the restroom, a deep voice floated over. Luna? I surfaced from my trance and met Ethan's dark gaze. Ethan, solo lunch? I tipped my chin toward the opposite chair. Hannah just stepped away. Hannah's my ride or die, but her older brother Ethan and I have always kept it transactional. Part of that was deliberate on my part, he used to be my target. The mission never progressed past the hello stage. Later, when Eastbrook ballooned and we sat across the negotiating table twice, we stayed equally cold and polite. I gave him a polite smile and opened my mouth for small talk. Host, the target's affection metric is spiking again. The robotic voice rang inside my skull, Chloe's system. My gaze flicked around the room and collided with Adrian's volcanic glare from 2 tables away. What do you think you're doing? He elbowed his way between Ethan and me, fury flashing like a husband who'd just caught his wife cheating. The reaction felt off. Adrian and Ethan used to be tight, exactly why I targeted Adrian as my side door. Yet right now he stared at Ethan like a rival he wanted to deck. My mind jumped to the rumor I'd overheard. Adrian and Ethan had come to blows one drunk night. Had Ethan shown Adrian the screenshot of our chat? Ethan regarded him calmly. Didn't expect you here. Adrian's face seemed to darken another shade. Neither did I. Imagine my surprise seeing my woman having dinner with you. Ethan, you two are finished. Still not your turn. Adrian's laugh was ice. He dropped his voice, eyes black as a frozen lake. Trying to reset the board and steal her back so you can finally exit this world? I narrowed my eyes. Never crossed my mind. I had no clue where Adrian got that script, and normally I'd shrug it off. But Ethan was listening. I didn't need misunderstandings. I glanced past Adrian to the table he'd left. Chloe sat there, head bowed, sawing her steak into precise squares, refusing to look up. Target affection -5. Her knife paused, she lifted her gaze to me. For the first time I studied Chloe without blinking. A humorless laugh escaped me. One look told me everything. Chloe doesn't love Adrian. I'd suspected since I learned she was an agent. She'd worn the mask perfectly, only now did her eyes betray her. She wasn't looking at a lover, and she wasn't looking at a rival either. Target affection -5, the system snapped inside her skull. Adrian scrambled between us, shielding her from my stare. Luna, it's not what you think. I only asked her here to end things clean. Okay. My face stayed flat. Strange, home alone I'd miss him, but the instant he materialized I felt nothing. He didn't notice, he kept barricading the space, voice soft like I was made of glass. There's nothing left between Chloe and me. Target affection -10. The system inside Chloe's head snarled again, loud enough for me to catch. Damn it, every time he sees her his meter drops. All your work this month, down the drain. I stood, circled around both men, and stopped at Chloe's chair. Got a minute to talk? 13 Inside the private room Chloe sat like a vine grown in a glacial valley, silent, coiled, blooming in frost. She was nothing like the sunflower Adrian kept describing. My deadline's almost up. Click, she lit a cigarette. Smoke ribboned from her lips as she spoke. Adrian suddenly found out I'm a ringer. Was that your farewell gift, senior? I nodded, guard high. Yes. The question had nagged me for months. Why pick Adrian at all? Chloe arched a brow. I was about to ask why you blocked my mission, senior. My system only dug it up last week. You used to work for the Bureau. Your original assignment was Ethan, but you bailed and hijacked my target. She let a trace of irritation slip into her voice. The briefing for my mission said Adrian had zero romantic interests at this point in the timeline. My system had even run a full simulation of the kind of person he'd fall for. I swaggered in, ready to conquer, and then, boom, there's a senior like you in the picture and the whole script flips. I froze. You'll regret this. That was the last thing my system said before it unbound and vanished. Back then I hadn't grasped how heavy those words were. Only now did I understand. My voice shook. Ethan and Adrian were both Bureau targets? Even then, the system had already known. Yep. We just hit them on different schedules. Chloe lounged back, cigarette twirling between her fingers, the smoke stung until my eyes welled up. If you hadn't once been Bureau staff, the moment I dropped into this world you'd have been flagged as a bug and erased. Her tone was ice. You quit your own mission, fine, but why sabotage mine? I had no answer. Chloe frowned, a shade of helplessness creeping in. Originally I planned to play dirty, drive a wedge, smear you, make Adrian hate your guts so I could swoop in. But regs say employees can't harm each other, and you'd already pushed his affection past 90. None of my little tricks even registered. All I could do was grind his liking for me until it beat yours. She studied me with regretful eyes. One more point and he'd have been locked in at 90, no decay possible. After you two split he blamed me, and the number's been dropping ever since. It took me a long minute to find my voice. Why target him at all? The Bureau had done me a massive favor. If it hadn't plucked me, I would never have lived twice. When I refused to finish my mission, my system had only sulked, no punishment followed. I was grateful. Still, I resented it. If Chloe had never shown up, maybe Adrian and I. Chloe bit her lip, enunciating every word. You forgot? Your system told you back then. Some people carry too much persona. Luck. The Bureau bargains with the world's consciousness, grant their emotional wish, skim a sliver of fortune, keep the lights on. Blame yourself for falling for Adrian, and blame him for being shaky enough to give me an opening. When she stopped, my mind stayed blank. After who knows how long I lifted my gaze to her, still waiting patiently, and exhaled. You've told me all this, what do you want? Chloe gave a soft as if just remembering her errand. System number 86 asked me to pass you a question, do you regret it? I caught the reference and laughed bitterly. My old system had carried the serial number 86. As to whether I regretted anything, I shook my head. I honestly don't know. Chloe asked, then are you coming back, senior? Silence. The ache inside me sank a little deeper. I looked at her, almost apologetic. Well, I've got a few million in the bank right now. Chloe's mouth twitched. 2 seconds later she stubbed the cigarette out, calm again. No need to answer today, and you don't have to seduce Ethan again. Just decide before your heart stops beating. The Bureau is generous to strong souls. Oh, one more thing. She pressed her fingertip to the crease between my brows, smoothing it slowly. A soft sigh escaped her. The energy to reincarnate you wasn't free. In exchange, we took your love for Adrian. I'm here to collect. 14 That conversation with Chloe felt like a bizarre dream. When I woke, the memory was a flower glimpsed through fog. I never saw her again. Life went on. Adrian popped up now and then. I thought I'd made myself clear, yet he kept begging for another chance. He blew up my phone, I blacklisted him, so he bought new numbers. I changed SIMs again and again. If that had been the end of it, fine, but he bought the mansion down the block. Every dusk, while I walked Chips, we'd cross paths. Today was no different. He waited on our usual route, tall frame wrapped in a black coat, eyes watching me through the half-light. For a heartbeat I say. The boy he'd been at 16. Now his gaze was layered with restraint and dusk. I walked past without breaking stride. Adrian said nothing, shadowing me one step behind. Our silhouettes merged in the sunset like inseparable lovers. I stared at the ground, unmoved. Chloe hadn't lied. She was draining my love for him. I could feel it ebbing. When I looked back on our decade together, it was like leafing through a misprinted newspaper. Smeared ink, illegible text, destined for the storeroom, stirring nothing. It felt as if I'd always lived alone, and my heart was quiet. How long are you going to keep this up? I drew a breath, still facing forward. Word is you've taken leave after leave, skipped 2 key meetings, the board's losing patience. You still have your work. Stop pretending. You know me, there's no reheating us. Every last shade of color left his face. I didn't want ugliness between us. He'd given me 10 years, family, romance, time enough to prove plenty. So yes, I believed he'd loved me. But belief can be cancelled in an instant. He himself had shown me it wasn't exclusive. I dabbed the corner of my eye, turned back, gaze flat. This is the last time. Don't come near me again. 15 After Adrian left, I finished the walk with Chips. 2 loops around the block, then we drifted home. Ethan's sharp profile was half lost in the gloom. I had no idea how long he'd waited at the gate. Luna. He stepped forward, steady. I paused. Hannah had mentioned his mother was lining up blind dates. I offered a polite smile. Something wrong? Come in for tea? His eyes swept my face, feelings laid bare. I let him look. At last pain flickered across his expression, voice roughened by night air. Hannah says you're job hunting. Ever consider the Sterling Group? I shook my head, distant, refusal clear. I've changed my mind. Not looking right now, and I won't be joining Sterling. He said nothing more. A beat of silence, then a calm goodbye. His silhouette dissolved into the dark. I unclipped Chip's leash and followed the dog's bouncing tail inside. 16 I'd craved a world tour since my previous life. Back when we were inseparable, we traded every dream, including that one. Later Adrian granted most of my wishes, except 3. Travel the world together, grow old together, love me forever. To keep him from haunting me, I decided to start the trip myself. 3. Maybe 5 years on the road, Eastbrook couldn't be abandoned that long. Plus, reborn in a healthy body, I had money and oceans of time. Nothing held me back. I hustled through Chip's pet passport and my visas. When Hannah heard, she squealed and invited herself along. On departure day nobody saw us off. The moment the plane punched through the clouds my mind emptied out. I knew what had happened. The last ember of love for Adrian had been claimed. We shared a boat, reached the far shore, then walked separate paths. Thanks for listening. If you liked the story, hit like and share it with friends. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and see you next time.